Welcome to Six Tackles with Gus. Great to be back with you for another week as we look at round 24. We're here thanks to Tab. Hello, Gus.
Matthew Thompson, how you doing?
I'm going good. It's nice to see the sun back.
Beautiful. I forgot what it looked like.
I know. Thought it was never going to stop raining.
How long will it last, the sun?
Well, it's not supposed to rain for the remainder of the week, so hopefully we'll have some dry weather footy over the weekend, which would be nice.
Well, some of the grounds could do with a bit of a thawing out.
You're not kidding.
A bit of a drying out.
Well, two of them are the two grounds that will feature a splendid lineup for Thursday and Friday night footy this week.
Yeah.
What about this on 9? Panthers Storm tomorrow night from Combank, and then the Roosters and the Dogs Somalians on Friday. Big time footy.
Big games.
Very big games.
The top four teams, aren't they?
Three of the top four, yeah. And then the Roosters off the back of a shellacking against the Dolphins. What happened there?
What happened there? Yeah,
how do you quantify that?
No, I couldn't believe it as I was watching it. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what was happening, what I was seeing. But I've said for years and years and years, the Roosters have the knack of scoring tries no other team can score. And they score them in any number of ways. And sometimes your defence can be great, but you are defenceless against what they do. They just score tries from anywhere, under any sort of circumstances. And I don't know if that's what they refer to as Rooster football, but it's extremely dangerous and it's hard to contain. And you've just got to expect the unexpected the whole time. There's no doubt that Sam Walker's made a big difference now that he's come back into the side, and his elusiveness and his instinctiveness and his... you just got to put it down to vision. What he sees is just unnatural, and what he does at times is just unnatural. But 64 points to 12, I would never have envisaged that whatsoever. And
just as I was thinking, if there is a team capable of troubling the big guns in the top four in the finals, maybe it's the Dolphins because of the attacking style they play. And their defence had been great the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, maybe it's just come as one injury too many. But look, the Roosters can do that. You know, all year, right from the start of the year, I said they've got great young talent in that club. They just needed to persevere. And then when we got halfway through the year, I said Sam Walker's going to make a difference when he comes back, and he has made a difference. So they're coming good at the right time. It's not beyond them to put in 8 good weeks and really trouble the top of the competition.
Now, your tentacles spread far and wide across this game. There's not much you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The Panthers are very tight-lipped about Isaiah Yeo's shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
What do you know?
Well, I think it subluxed in the Gold Coast game the other day, and he didn't come back on for the second half. And he hasn't been selected since. Now, that sort of injury, it's nowhere near as bad, or it didn't look anywhere near as bad as Jerome Hughes, which took over an hour to get back into place. And they tell me the longer it's out, the worse it is. I think by the look of it, Asaias went in and out pretty quickly, if in fact it came out at all. He does have a history of shoulder issues, but it looked as though he got well past that. It was earlier in his career. And I think they're just trying to be precautionary. I think they're waiting for the right time to blend him back in. I've got no doubt he'll play again this year, but they'll pick and choose which game he plays in, I guess. They're now in the top four. They're now in the top four.
Mm-hmm.
And if they win tomorrow night, they'll be premiership favourites come Friday morning, which has been an extraordinary comeback. But one that we've sort of half predicted all year, that once they got on a roll, they would do something like this. And we've got 8 rounds, we've got 4 rounds to go, and then in the finals and that sort of thing, they put in a good 2 months. It could be 5 in a row with the Panthers. They, as I said a couple of weeks, they will start favourite in every game they play. They will start favourite against the Melbourne Storm, who are the premiership favourites at the moment, on Thursday night. It'll be a cracking game, obviously, and they're last year's grand finalists, and whether or not this is a preview of this grand final remains to be seen, but they're now eyeing each other off again, and they're both in the top 4, and the cream has risen to the top come August.
Yes, I'm just fascinated about Yeo, because if they are to lose this week, it's a line ball prediction, that game against Melbourne, that age-old rivalry, and results don't go their way, they could find themselves out of the top 4 this week, because they're very much walking a tightrope.
Yeah, I think they will save him until they need him, absolutely need him. So they've timed it well up until now, and obviously he'll be treated. And they've got good experience. They went with Luai and they went with Cleary, who had big shoulder injuries getting into the back half of the season. And Saiyo's a tough boy. Like, Saya's missed no football for the last 5 or 6 years.
Incredibly durable.
His run's been incredible. And if anyone can play with a bit of discomfort, it will be him. I don't think there's any great concerns about Asaya coming back. It'll just be picking the right time and the right games for him to play in until he's 100% ready to go. But I think whatever happened to him against the Titans, if it came out and went back in pretty quickly because he played on with it, but it didn't come back after the halftime break. So I think he'll be okay, and the medical team there's pretty good, so they know what they're doing.
We have a very big announcement for you right off the top here on 6 Tackles with Gus.
Do we?
Very big announcement. I think you're across this.
Right.
Have you been briefed?
I think I was briefed by people at Canterbury Leagues yesterday. They all come running up very exciting.
We're doing a live show, and we're doing it at Canterbury Leagues because we know we can guarantee ourselves a crowd there because Gus will tell everyone to turn up. But Thursday, August 28 from 2 p.m, it's before the Bulldogs-Panthers game. Another blockbuster. If you'd like to be there, you can qualify by sending your very best Ask Gus questions to the following email address, 6tackles@9, N-I-N-E, .com.au. And we'll pick out the best questions, and if you qualify, we'll send you an invite. There's very limited seats available, so make sure when you send your Ask Us question, include your full name, your phone number, and they're the main details we need, and we'll respond to the winners. So if you get a ticket, we'll let you know. And the great news is we're putting on the food, the drinks. I don't know what sort of drinks. Hopefully they're soft drinks. Maybe just soft drinks.
All the events and the catering team come up to me very excited the other day to confirm the news. So
right.
When was I there? Monday morning. The team had a review and a bit of a breakfast together there Monday morning. And the events girls that were catering for that were all excited, telling me about the podcast.
Oh, good.
So I had to play dumb and make out it was a surprise. But yeah, no, it's great.
Do you know what's on the menu? Will it be something exciting?
No, footy food.
Pies and sausage
We'll
rolls.
make it footy food.
So there'll be prizes to be won there on the day. So 2 o'clock, 2 p.m, 28th of August, Canterbury League Club. That's the place to be. We'll have some special guests. I understand a couple of Bulldog legends have already been locked in. And it will be presented by our friends at Tab. So there you have it. We're going live around the country. We'll start small and work up from there.
A live podcast.
Yeah. What could go wrong?
Yep.
At least they won't sledge the boss. We know that much.
Dear, oh, dear, oh.
Mitch Moses and Talon De Silva would have sat down and had a coffee this week and would have been all smiles.
Yes! Yep. No problem whatsoever. There's been mixed reviews and mixed feelings about what transpired there the other day. In our world, it's not very uncommon at all.
Who's got an issue with that? Has someone had an issue with that? Like, what's the problem?
Only through social media you see fans blowing up about it and people. But it's, like when you're in our world, that's nothing. Like, neither player would have given that a second thought after the game. Honestly, neither would have given it a second thought. In the heat of battle, sometimes that's the way we communicate with each other, and even at training, and even, it's very, very competitive. It's high stakes. There's a lot on the line. And, when things go wrong and people get frustrated, and part of that too is, teaching young people where they stand and what they need to do. And he made a couple of ordinary plays there, Talon, and he'll admit to that. And Mitchell wasn't happy about it because they wanted to win the game. It was the two teams there really wanting badly to have a win. We got a 1-point game, and it was in the balance there. And I think Talon will take a great lesson out of it. Also, you've got to understand that Talon and Mitchell will have a relationship. You don't just do that to someone who's, just walked in the door and hasn't found their feet. They will have known each other and they will have had a relationship, and you pick your mark on those types of things. If it had been someone else, he might have handled it differently. But right at that point in that time, Mitchell felt that's what Talon needed to hear.
But the great halves are great communicators. You think back across these, I can remember Andrew Johns blowing up at blokes on the field, and Thurston was the same.
Well,
this is nothing new.
You haven't got time during a game for a sit-down coffee and consultation or mediation. It's kind of like you've got to get it out. And we've only got so many words we can use to emphasise the point. So we keep it fairly succinct. I remember I played in a game one day. It was a Belmore Oval, and we were defending our line. We were only a couple of points in front, and our winger went down injured. And I said something like to him, he said, that leg will want to be broken. Get back and get in the line. He got back and got in the line, but it turns out the leg was broken. you got to be careful who you get into at times. Matty Callahan, he went on and played in the grand final that year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Matt Callanan.
Callanan, yeah.
Yes.
Matt Callanan, yeah.
After about, I reckon he played 4 or 5 games.
Yeah.
And played in the grand final.
Yeah.
Amazing story. Now, Laurie, pardon me, Ricky Stewart has said Ethan Strange reminds him a little bit of Laurie Daley. Does he remind you a little bit of Laurie Daley?
No. No, he doesn't, but he's a very good player in his own right. I wouldn't be comparing him to Laurie Daley. Laurie Daley went through various stages in his career, as most footballers do, professional footballers do. When Laurie came on as a teenage sensation, he was absolutely dynamic, like fast and ball runner and step, and he was such an individual talent. And then over the years turned into one of the great playmakers and great leaders and very durable player. And you go through transitions in your career, and injury causes that, and experience, and the opposition knowing exactly what you're doing all the time. But this fella has been extremely effective for her. And I not that I got a shock, but we interviewed Ricky after the win on the weekend over the Manly Sea Eagles, and I said, you're 5'8", Ethan Strange, who was man of the match in a New South Wales-Queensland under-19s game just 2 years ago. He played in the centres in that game and went into the Canberra Raiders, made a fist of the 5'8" role. And I said, what's he like? He said, mate, you'd love to coach him. He said, I love coaching him. He's this and this and this. He said, I expect him to go on the Kangaroo Tour at the end of the year, and I expect him to be New South Wales 5'8". And I went, wow. And I actually texted him after it. I said, wow, that's a big... He said, mate, he's extraordinary. He said, he's absolutely brilliant. You'd love coaching him. He said, he said, I don't know if he'll play rep football this year. He said, but they'd be mad if they don't. And it was funny because I was looking at the game and looking at him in particular, some of the things I did, and I thought to myself, he could play Origin.
Oh, absolutely he could.
He could really play Origin in the right team with the right players. And he's kind of got that Origin look about him. Like he can make people miss, and he's not scared of collision, and he's aggressive with the ball, and
great defender.
And he scored a couple of simple tries on the weekend where he made the opposition look silly, and he's been doing it all year. I mean, they're leading the competition by a long way, and it's no fluke with the football that they're playing, and he's been a massive part of that. And that's what I talk about rep football teams. Rep football teams should be a reward for the best players of the day. I don't buy into a lot of the incumbency stuff that they go on with, and it should be a reward for the best players. And he has been one of the best players all year, and his team is at the top of the competition. And if they go on to win it or even play in the grand final, then surely a number of those players get rewarded with representative honours at the end of the year. That should be what representative football is all about. It's then up to the coach to coach the ones they pick. Well, I don't know, we've turned rep football into something else over the years. I suppose Origin's had a bit to do with that, but he would have been particularly back in the old days where Kangaroos tours went for like a couple of months, and they played the 3 test matches, but they also played against a lot of the English club sides and some of the French teams, and they had an English tour that also came through France on the way home. They used to take a lot of young players to blood them into international football and to blood them into being around the best footballers in the game, and he would have been perfect for that sort of role. They go away, they have the Kangaroos, but they used to call them the Emus, which was like the second team, and they'd help get the first team ready, and then they might play Wigan or Widnes or St Helens or something on a Wednesday night, and the Emus would go out and play against them, and a few of the test players that needed a run would have a run, and they'd take away virtually 2.5 teams. But for just a 3-match test series, if they're the only games they're going to play, I'd imagine probably a squad of 22, 23. I don't know what they're going to take, but he might miss the cut. But if they win the comp, he deserves to go.
We could comfortably play in the centres, and I think that's an area, depending on what happens with Hammer and where he chooses to play, there might be. They may well need to fill some depth in the centres.
Absolutely. Anything could happen between now and the end of the year. Anything could happen. But if Canberra Raiders play in the grand final, well, they're going to be minor premiers. If they play in the grand final and win the competition, then you need to look at who's responsible for that and reward those players with representative jerseys. That's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. What are they going to do? Pick some bloke from a team that's run 14th and hope that he can be ready in 6 weeks' time to play in a test match? I don't think so. That's not what it should be about. Reward the best players and the ones that have got the good results at the end of the year. You could virtually pick your Australian team out of the grand final team if it came to that. Anyway, but he's got some opposition, your Munsters and your Luais and your Mitchell Moses and all these players, your Clearys and all that will be highly sought after, of course.
But he offers a little bit of versatility there, like I say. Anyway, but I think the point Ricky was trying to make is how good he is and how well he's improved.
Well, let's put it this way. He's not swapping Ethan Strange for any of them blokes.
No way.
He's very, very happy with him and he's doing a great job down there, as are the Raiders, who are, you've got to believe your eyes, mate. They're a very, very good football team.
Up the milk. They love us in Canberra. Oh, I'm interested in your answer to this. Ideally, rugby league would be a game played by 11 on 11.
No. Well, somebody thought so the other night.
Whack.
Yeah.
Because that's Warren Ryan's long-held theory.
Warren was saying that back in the 80s. Warren was used to talk about 11 on 11 and everyone would look like Sonny Bill Williams, the prototype of the perfect athlete that could play in the backs and in the forwards and had skill and could run and tackle and cover the ground and had a constitution to play 80 minutes at that sort of speed. I played in a semi-final back in the 80s where we were 12 on 12 virtually for the last 78 minutes and it's very taxing. In today's world, it's almost near impossible, but 11 on 11, no, I don't think so. I don't think, I've never been a fan of sevens football or nines football in rugby league because we're just not built for that. Our athletes aren't built for that. I just always saw it as an unwelcome gimmick. Good for recreational football, good for, emerging talent or good for, non-NRL players. But NRL players are trained to play 13 on 13. The way that we do. And these days with interchange and it's very, very explosive and they get 8 interchanges and how many HIAs they can ring in during the way. It's just, there's a lot of rest time and downtime with bunkers and captain's challenges. And so the game only ever occasionally reaches fatigue levels in our game and that's why defences are probably good. But we're still getting games with 70 points, 60 and 70 points per weekend. We still get teams beaten by 50 and 60 points. 11 on 11 is not our game. It's not our game. So
no, but I suppose I'm asking you if you could you see a world where because the field side hasn't changed, has it? So with sports science and they're all big, strong athletes now. The field's the same as it's always been. Could we make the field wider?
No. What are you going to do? Break down stadiums and make the field wider? They're running into the fences now. The field's a perfect size. Everything's perfect. Just leave it the way it is. What I hate is packing into scrums where a winger feeds it, a winger's at lock forward, a halfback's at 5, like a front rower's at 5'8". I mean, the game has changed so much and we've watered it down and sanitised it so much. It's non-recognisable to the game that I played and even to the game I coached years ago. But there are obviously similarities, but 11 on 11 is a different product and it's for a different athlete.
So why did Warren Ryan think that was the future?
Well, back then, if you remember back in the 80s, there was a 5 metre rule and the fields were very dusty and slow and we were playing with leather footballs and Warren Ryan was a master of up and in defence. We had 4-2 grand finals and 6-4 grand finals and everyone was whinging because the Dogs of War were bashing everyone and winning by low scores. And I can remember we were playing games. We'd kick a goal to lead 2-0 and you could see their heads go down. Like they're not going to get back in the game. It was just how he coached the sides. But he himself knew that wasn't good for the game. He wanted to see more open football, but at that time, with a 5 metre rule, the fields, the footballs that we were using, the part-time nature of the beast, what was dominating the sport at that time, the way it was so easily to dominate the game defensively at that time, if you were really committed to it and close opposition things down, it was that the really star attacking players never really got to show their wares and. He would often sit and pontificate over a few beers about what would be the perfect game, what's the perfect prototype for the future footballer. And, tall, rangy, long arms, could run, could play in the forwards, play in the backs, had skill, could kick and do what have you. Out to a 10 metre rule and 11 on 11. And this is all something that he used to speculate about. And we talk about the science of the game and how to manipulate defences. And it was always a fascinating conversation.
What, he used to use coins, didn't he?
He'd use salt and pepper shakers, empty schooner glasses, midi glasses, whatever was on the table at the time. And we used to all go to the Hanson Park Hotel for a game of cards and a few beers after thing. And Warren would stand at the bar, and he'd still be coaching, well at midnight to whoever went over. We had to take it in turns to go over to him, because if you went to the bar to get a beer, he got stuck with him, and you'd have to sit there and talk footy. So it was your turn. You go and talk to Warren. So we'd all be playing cards and having a beer, and then you go across and you get a life lesson from Warren and a football lesson all in one. And funny days. But he was always fascinating to talk to about the game and his theories on the game, and even to his own detriment. Like even to the football that he was coaching at the time, and he was dominating for a number of years there. He went to 3 grand finals in a row he went to a grand final with the Newtown in 1981, went across to Canterbury and went to 3 grand finals in a row there, winning 2 premierships. Then went to Balmain in 88 and took them to the grand final. He had wonderful success, but his style of football was often criticised by the day and in the media because of it
being very dour.
Very dour and very defence dominated and very physical. And in the early 90s, overnight we went to a 10-metre rule, to try and break all that down and get some more attacking game into the competition. And but back then he dominated it. He used to talk about Walter Lindrum, the great snooker player from back in the Depression years, I think he was, and how they changed the rules of billiards to beat him because they couldn't beat him, and they had to change the rules to beat him. And he talked about they're going to have to change the rules to beat his style of football. They're not going to beat his style of football the way it is. You're going to have to change the rules to do it. You have to change the refereeing. And we've been on that journey for the last 35 years, our game, changing the rules to manipulate the type of football that we play. And, it was born out in the Super League wars and what was the aftermath of all that, and it's still going on today. And it's still going on today. Some of the things that have crept in our game today are unbelievable from the referees and the officialdom and the way things are interpreted. It's unbelievable how we've got to this point. How we got those 2 penalty tries on the weekend are beyond me. How does our game get to that? How does our game possibly get to that situation? And we've just inched our way towards it and no one's tried to pull it up. I find that bizarre, absolutely bizarre. That's not the question you asked.
Oh, no. You were just waiting for an invitation.
I just find it absolutely bizarre that our game has got to the point where they are now penalty tries. Do you not see the absurdity of that?
Well, yeah. I thought it was absurd. The referee said he wanted 11 on 11.
Well, that's another point. But I'm talking about the mid-air tackles and the way
the mid-air tackle stuff.
You can't touch playmakers. You can't touch people that play the ball. You can't touch people that look like they're going to get the ball. You can't touch people that are going to catch the ball. I mean, everything has just been taken to the nth degree. Warren used to talk about to the nth degree, to the absolute limit. And we've just inched our way along towards it where some of the things that are in our game just don't belong in our game. They don't belong as part of our product. But we've allowed it to deteriorate to that. It's not good. It's not good. It's got to be reined back. Someone's got to pull them into line and rein it back because it's not the game. You didn't want that, did you?
It's fine. This is your podcast, my friend.
You look to be panicking there.
No, I'm just looking at something else in relation to my next question, which is James Tedesco's favourite to win the Daley M again.
Yeah. Scintillating form, isn't he?
Yes! So he's 32. Should he win it this year, I think he'd be the second oldest winner of a Daley M. Cameron Smith won it as a 34-year-old. And bearing in mind he won it previously back in 2019. So it would be 6 years between them.
Well, James Tedesco at the height of his career was the best player in the game and was winning everything. His club awards and representative awards and the major game awards. Do
you think this is his best season?
No.
In the context of he's with a vastly different, weak and inexperienced Roosters team that could make the finals. His leadership has been profound.
Extraordinary. He's had a wonderful season. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And that's full-time professionalism. It's sports science. It's looking after his body and looking after and becoming more professional in his nature. But, when you talk about it being his best ever season, people forget how good he was at the really top of his game. I mean, but he's still in scintillating form and, he's rejuvenated by the youth in that team and the responsibility and the leadership that he's had to take on and the role that he's playing, and in both attack and defence, he's such an influence on that side, and he's going to drag them into the finals. And if they get there, well, they know how to win it from there. So, like I said on 100% Footy the other night, the winner of this competition is well hidden. Anyone could have a good month in September and get it done. Now that the two big guns are there, now that the cream has risen to the top come August, I don't think you'll see Melbourne and Panthers going anywhere. And I'll be very surprised if they're not eyeing each other off again, so far as getting down to the back end of the year. There'll be some other contenders, of course, but the big guns are there. The cream has risen to the top, and we'll probably see why that's the case tomorrow night.
Final question. The Broncos will miss the 8.
No. I don't think so. I think they're well served with depth. To lose Adam Reynolds and have a player like Ben Hunt to come into that position is extraordinary depth. They'll cover for the others.
They're on 11 wins in 6th position on 28 points.
Yeah. I'm just looking up their draw for the last few matches.
I've got it here for you. They play the Dolphins this weekend.
So they got the Dolphins this weekend, who are coming off a 60-point drubbing. They then play the Knights, and they play the Cowboys, and they got the Storm in the last round. Now, the Storm, if they've got a top 2 spot wrapped up by then, may well rest players at that time. And they've got a few players with injuries and different things going on. So I think they'll win their next 3. That's going to get them in the 8. So, there's still potentially a chance of finishing on 36 points. And 36 points there is a probability there that you can make the top 4 in 36 points. So I'm not writing them off completely at all. But they will win their next 3. Most people are assuming, well, maybe they won't beat Melbourne next time, but who's know what the teams are going to look like in a month's time. And then in a month's time, if Adam Reynolds comes back, things are looking decidedly different and they start to get on a winning run. You can't write anyone off at any time here, but they'll win their next 3.
You heard it here first. They will win the next 3. So Dolphins this weekend, Newcastle away, Cowboys in Townsville. Man, what about the Cowboys? They're Melbourne at home, but we don't know who's going to play. But personnel.
As I say, Melbourne may well rest players for that game.
They may well. They have traditionally, if they've got been in a position to do so.
If they've got a top 2 position wrapped up. They might rest them the second last week. You don't know. But, all those top 4 sides have got a pretty tough draw. Other than Canberra, have got a pretty tough draw over the next 2 or 3 weeks. So it'll be interesting to see who wins there and how it plays out, and then what happens in the last round, just how vital that is to all those teams, and whether they take the opportunity to rest players leading into the first week of the finals, which they're well within their rights to do. So there's a lot to play out yet. There's a long way to go. Isn't it
incredible to think the Broncos can bring in a bloke who's played 350 NRL games at halfback?
Yeah. It's just how it's worked out.
So Billy Walters has been picked to play in 6, coming off the bench out of that utility role. He's played a lot of halves, and Corey Pakes is going to play in the 9.
I think they're
good, serviceable players.
I think they're good, serviceable players, and I think I'm expecting them to win their next 3. I'm not saying they should win their next 3, and then it sets up what happens in the and for Brisbane Broncos, depending on where that puts them, it may not be important for them to win the last game. If they've got a home semi-final and a top 8 stuff, confirmed by that state, they might rest players leading into the final. So you really don't know what's going to happen in the last couple of rounds, depending on where you're situated on the ladder and how your injury situation is. There's some big games coming up in the next couple of weeks that have all got influence on the finals, and even going right back down towards Sea Eagles and probably to a lesser extent Dragons and West Tigers, but certainly down to Sea Eagles. Now the Sea Eagles over the last month, whilst they've lost their last couple and haven't looked all that impressive, Sea Eagles now go up against Tiger, Dolphin, Dragon and Warrior. So at their best form, they could win all 4 and put themselves within a chance of a top 8 finish as well. Dolphins, well, God knows what happened there the other night, how that fanned out. I don't know. I just didn't see that coming at all. But Dolphins go into the last month of football. I think it is a tough draw from memory. They've got the Broncos, they've got Manly, they've got the Titans, and they've got the Raiders. So it's going to make it very difficult for them, isn't it? The Roosters, who have made a little bit of a surge of recent times and with that explosive performance the other week. They've got they've got the Bulldogs this week on Friday night football, and then they've got the Eel, they've got the Storm, and they've got the Rabbit. So
Eels are going great.
they're going good. Yeah, good win on the weekend. It was a good game, that game. It's a good game. Yeah, our bottom teams are stronger than bottom teams for the last few years. They're all capable of beating anyone. Titans should have beaten Panthers the other day. So our bottom teams, the bottom half of our competition, I think, is stronger than the bottom half of the competition in previous years. A lot stronger, and infinitely stronger than in some years. They're hard to win. They're capable. St George's had a couple of them.
I just wanted to bring up the Dragons. They're on 8 wins, 22 points. So they have now. Is it 8 games this year they've lost by 8 points or less? Give them 3 of those.
Yep.
They're not just in the 8. They're not out of the realms of possibility of finishing in the top 4, St George Illawarra. But they should be in the finals.
Well, we tipped them for the finals at the start. They're a big, strong, aggressive team. They got the Warrior this week, then they got the Rabbit, then they got Manly, and they got the Panthers to finish. So it's a tough draw, but the way they're playing at the moment, like we've seen upsets in previous weeks where bottom 6 teams have beaten top 3 teams. It's just how the competition is at the moment. Our bottom rung of teams, or the teams on the ladder that are down the bottom at the moment, are capable of beating the top sides. They're a better quality group than the bottom of the ladder in previous years. Halfway through this competition, I remember saying to you, this competition will flip on its head. Panthers were running 17th, and I said, this competition will flip on its head over the next 12 weeks. No one could predict what the competition ladder was going to look like at the midway point. I said, I defy anyone to predict what it's going to look like in 12 weeks' time, and that's pretty much been playing out. And if it went for another 12 weeks, it could well flip again. You could see Dragons and Tigers and these sorts of teams, Eels, for instance, really making a run up the ladder, and other teams with injuries falling off the pace. So it sets up brilliantly for next year. I mean, big off seasons coming up, and the lure of Perth Reds and PNG coming into the competition in the next couple of years. I mean, there's a lot of things to happen in the off season, but right now we still don't know who the top 8 will be. We still don't know who the top 4 will be, and I think the premiership winner is still hidden. There's a few teams up there, mind you, Melbourne and Penrith. Penrith win tomorrow night, they'll be premiership favourites. They're running 17th at round 12.
Haven't lost a game since.
Haven't lost a game since. And if they beat Melbourne tomorrow night, I expect them to be premiership favourites.
We'll get Gus's preview and his tips of round 24 soon. You mentioned the influence of the Perth Bears. It seems that they're...
I call them Perth Reds. I said
Western Perth Reds.
Yeah, Western
That's
Reds.
a throwback.
Yeah, I'm an oldie.
Did you coach teams over... Did you coach against the Western Reds?
Yeah, 95, 96.
How'd you enjoy that trip?
I loved it. I always loved a trip with the footy team.
Did you go early in the week?
They were real trips in them days.
You weren't driving the bus across the country, though.
The trip home was a bit hairy, but...
Did you get the red eye home?
Yeah, normally.
I've never done the red eye. You'd do the red eye, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
You'd come straight back.
Yeah. I don't know why
Torture.
people call it the red eye. It's beautiful. You get 3 or 4 hours sleep, and then you wake up the next morning, you're ready to go.
Because most people like more than 3 to 4 hours sleep.
It's a luxury for me.
So the number one target appears to be Tino Fa'asuamaleaui, who is going to test the market. It seems
What's happened there? How has he suddenly become... I thought he signed a 10-year deal.
Well, he's signed a long-term deal, but clearly he's got a fair few clauses in that contract that fall in his favour.
Isn't that why they did the long-term deal, to get rid of those clauses? Didn't he have clauses previously?
Well, yeah, there was the clause attached to the coach. Remember?
Yeah,
when
but
Holbrook left.
How do you sign a contract with clauses that after 2 years they can just up and go again?
Well, you obviously don't.
No chance in the world.
Because the big name marquee player often has a lot of pull in this game, Gus.
I want to sign for 5 years, but I want to make up my mind in 2 years if I want to stay.
Hasn't Jerome Blue got that same thing?
I don't know what they've got. But
He signed a 5-year deal and he can get it after 2.
I don't know what they've got. But if I ever sat down with a player and a player manager who wanted the option to negotiate their way out of the contract halfway through the contract, I'd say, don't bother coming or don't bother staying if that's the way you feel. We want to make a 5-year or 10-year commitment to you. We expect you to make a 5 or 10-year commitment to us.
For sure.
Having said that, clubs do move players, either for non-performing or salary cap reasons. Sometimes it's brought on just by the fact that you've gone well and players increase in value, and you can't keep your roster competitive, or you can't bring young fellas through, or you're going to lose some young fellas that you want to keep. And roster management is so hard and so difficult. But I find it extraordinary that they went through that. There was him and Fafita had those exit clauses. They've re-signed him to remove the exit clauses and put more back in.
Well, he can talk from November 1.
It doesn't make sense to me.
Clubs, yes, they can move players around, but as you know, at least signing a contract protects their income.
The player?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly does. Yeah. Certainly does.
Let's not go there. So he's in the midst of a 10-year deal with the Titans. His contract has a get-out clause that he can activate that would see him leave at the end of 2026. So at the end of next
Well, what
season.
was all the hype about the 10-year deal about?
I don't know.
You got a 2-year deal. Well, as it turns out, you got a 12-month deal because they can negotiate from November 1.
So the Perth Bears, it would seem, are going to table a large offer. There's obviously scuttlebutt going around. I've seen something say as much as $7.5 million over 5 years.
Oh, someone's making that up. They haven't got a person there in a position to make that offer.
Well, they've got a head coach and a CEO.
Yeah, but they're not in a position to do that. And that'll be scuttlebutt. I just don't believe that's just media scuttlebutt.
Well, they need to get their act together because they can sign players and have to start signing players from November 1.
Yeah, and I don't think any front rower is worth $1.5 million a year in a limited salary cap model. He's a great player. He's a really great player, but the Titans are running last.
Well, that might be why he wants out.
Well, I'm just saying, but just because you sign one of the top front rowers in the game doesn't necessarily guarantee success. They've also got Mo Fa'asuamaleaui and David Fafita and Beau Fermor, who are representative class players. They're still running last. If you don't get the mix right, you don't get the money right, you don't get the important people in the important positions, you're not going to win games.
But that's the battle the Perth Bears and any new franchise is going to have.
Any club has. And it's what the battle any club has. When you're talking about what's the value of your player. A $1.5 million front rower.
But they're going to have to pay a premium as a new club and a club on the other side of the country.
Yeah.
So if they want to attract a marquee player, that might be what they have to pay, which puts them at a distinct disadvantage from the outset.
Right. So if you're going to pay $1.5 million and your marquee player is going to be a front rower, right? He's going to be a front rower who doesn't play 80 minutes every week. You've got to pay someone else to play the rest of the game that he's not going to play. All right. Then who do you put into the positions that actually influence the scoreboard? He's a great player. He is an outstanding front row forward. But there has to be a limit on what sort of money they take from a limited salary cap, a limited wage pool, where you've got to spread it amongst 30 players and cover all positions in your lineup and all the key positions that actually influence the scoreboard. If you can't influence the scoreboard, it doesn't matter how rough and tough your front rower is. So I find that ridiculous. I said it as much when they signed David Fafita many years ago from the Brisbane Broncos. I said, that's not going to help the scoreboard.
Well, he can help the scoreboard when he's right, but that hasn't worked much in recent years, has it?
Sometimes. Sometimes. But, anyway, other people might have a different view and they have a different view on the game, and I'm not saying I'm right whatsoever. If it were me, that would be the last place I'd be looking to spend $1.5 million.
Front row.
In the front row. I'd rather have 3 or 4 players than spend that $1.5 million. And what happens is, if that $1.5 million front rower is out, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
Well, he had all last season off.
If you've got 3 or 4 front rowers all on $3 and $4 and $500,000 each, and one of them pulls out, it's no big deal. You've got some depth and you've got people there to take their place. You buy the $1.5 million front rower and he's injured for any expense of time, or he's suspended, or he's going off and playing Origin football and what have you. Now, they might feel that he can attract sponsorship, that he can attract membership, that he can attract, and in the early stages of a new franchise, maybe that's a priority for them, but Is it going to get them people that will influence the scoreboard? I don't know. I think that's where I would be looking at the moment. But
you've often talked about the importance of leadership in setting up a new franchise. He offers them something in that regard too, I guess.
Yeah.
But how much is that worth?
Well, I'll repeat again, the Titans are running last. And that's not Tino's fault, but I'm just saying it hasn't influenced their results. Has it?
No.
And I think that's fair comment.
Absolutely it is.
But if the motivation's money, well, sell yourself to the highest bidder.
So should they not even worry about a marquee player? Should they be just trying to get good toilers in there and try to not bust their backside with blowing the salary cap out from day one?
Everyone loves marquee players. But the market is such that the marquee players command very big money in this game. Very big money in this game. And it chews up your salary cap very, very quickly. Therefore, if your marquee player is not someone who regularly influences the scoreboard, if you're looking for someone because he's good at going to schools or he's good at, with the members and the fans and he's good and he's popular with the sponsors and all that sort of thing, well, that's fine, but that'll run dry unless that scoreboard on Sunday is in your favour. Don't get me wrong, I think Tino is fantastic. He's in the top 2 or 3 front rowers in the game today. I just don't think that's wise to spend that money on a front rower to open the franchise. I don't know what that does for you.
Well, actually, he's one of a number of handy players that seem to be up for grabs at the moment. Now, news has been confirmed that Buddy Simonson has been given permission to negotiate with other clubs. He's had a falling out there at Para. But the other one I shake my head about, and we've talked about this with respect to Daley, Cherry Evans, Sandon Smith can leave the Roosters. If I'm Perth, I'm ringing Sandon Smith.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with that.
Good first-grade halves don't often come on the market, do they?
No. I know he's been looked at as a potential hooker.
Well, he sort of started there.
Yeah. I haven't understood the whole Sandon Smith thing at the Roosters all year, but, they've proven it. They've got it right because of how they're charging home at the back end of the season, and Sandon Smith looks like he's the one that's going to miss out. And obviously, I don't know if we've had an official announcement, but Cherry Evans is going there next year, and he and Sam Walker are going to be in the halves. Hugo Savala's done a great job from this year. The more he plays, the better he's getting, and that's what it's like with young fellas. And there seems to be a good mix there at the moment. They just beat the Dolphins by 60. I mean, how many do you want to win by? They're going particularly well, but they've got Daley, Cherry Evans coming next year, so someone has to miss out, and Sander can go on and look to make his name somewhere else, I guess. Good player. Although he did extremely. He was man of the match in the Charity Shield today.
Anzac Day.
Anzac. What did I say? Charity
Shield.
Anzac
That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
And Simonson's played in 2 grand finals.
Yeah, well, Bailey's always been a very handy outside back. Very handy outside back. He was down at the Raiders and he came to Parramatta and, I don't know what's going on there, but he's been given permission to negotiate. So hopefully he finds his niche somewhere.
Okay, so Tino could be on the move despite signing a 10-year contract.
I think he'll stay at the Gold Coast Titans. My mail is that Des Hasler will survive and he'll coach there again next year.
What? Des is staying. He was going to retire.
I'll be very, very surprised if he's not coaching the Titans next year.
So I told you his tentacles spread far and wide.
Be very surprised. And I'll be very surprised if Tino's not there next year.
No, he's there next year. It's at the end of next year.
Well, yeah. Anyway.
What about Fafita?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Crazy. He's been touted on the market for ages.
But he's on $1 million. So who's going to pick up that tab? It's a lot of money.
Can't answer you.
Just a reminder, our 6 Tackles with Gus live show from Canterbury Leagues at 2 o'clock on Thursday, August 28. To go into the running to get a ticket, send your Ask Gus question to 6tackles@9.com.au. Food and drinks, soft drinks, and prizes to be won, and we'll have some special guests. We've already confirmed a couple. I think they're both on your staff, so they've kind of been instructed they have to turn up. Do you know how they are? Okay. Well, one was a 5'8", and the other one was a big, scary front rower.
Terry Lamb?
No. More modern.
Oh, right.
Wore the same jersey. Good fella.
Josh Reynolds?
The Pest, yes?
Yes, Josh Reynolds. And James Graham?
Nope.
No.
Is he on your staff?
Yeah.
Is he?
Yeah. Does a bit of work there.
Everyone gets a gig.
Yeah. Bulldogs, mate. Look after our own.
The ogre.
Oh, Mark O'Mealy. God love him. Doing a great job in our coaching pathways.
What does he coach?
He coaches our Harold Matthews team, but he coaches everything. He goes up the North Coast. He goes to the Greater Northern. He goes to New Zealand. He goes to Queensland.
To do what?
Coach.
Talent scout.
Coach. Coach the kids that we've already contracted and scouted. Coach the coaches. Works in our own academy. He's had some health issues this year, Mark. He's had a couple of serious operations, but saw him in there, bouncing him around. He loves it, absolutely loves it. If you've ever seen anyone love their job, it's Mark O'Mealy.
Oh, that's great.
Loves it.
So we've talked about Jason Riles and how you wouldn't have picked him to be a coach. Now, there's another one I wouldn't have picked to be a coach.
Mark O'Mealy.
Oh, Mark O'Mealy. He want to bash everyone when he played.
He's as smart as it. He is smart as.
Is he really?
And really well prepared, knows his football, talks about it eloquently and intelligently. He's got a very simple nature about him, obviously. He's very simple in his processes, but with kids, he's enormous. We get that much great feedback from clinics that we run, skills sessions he gives, defence sessions he gives, tackling sessions, even mental training and doing. He's quite a rugby league intellect. He's got a very high rugby league IQ. Yeah, he played like a bloke who'd run into a brick wall, but
he was mad when he played.
But even when he played, I've coached him a few games in Origin. He was always in. He was always articulate about talking about the science of the game. He loved that part of it.
I'm very much looking forward to having him on the show. You've always had a philosophy about getting old, not the old boys, but former players involved with the clubs that you've been at.
I love footballers being coached by footballers. All our football teams are coached by footballers, ex-footballers. So all our coaches and assistant coaches were ex-footballers, ex-NRL players. Our reserve grade coach is Mick Potter, who's dual Daley M winner and a Canterbury legend and has coached in England and coached all over Australia. He's our New South Wales Cup coach. Our Jersey Flegg coach is our former captain, Josh Jackson. Our SG Ball coach is Steve Turner, who played at the Melbourne Storm. He played at Panthers and he played at the Bulldogs. And Mark O'Mealy, who's a club legend, who played at a couple of clubs after he left the Bulldogs, but he's always been renowned as a Bulldog. I love footballers being coached by footballers. And to me, that's a philosophy that stood the test of time. I always look to find the ex-player who can then communicate and assist young players. And I believe that the ex-player knows exactly what the player is feeling and what he's going through and how to communicate with him. And it comes from a place of real care and it comes from a place of knowledge. It comes from a place of experience. And they're not asking you to do something that they haven't done themselves or they couldn't do themselves or they see potential in you that they never had. You've got to screen them carefully and find out the right personality. But, we got brilliant coaching staff there and they're all great, like Chad Randall and Jason Taylor, who've been steeped in, rugby league careers themselves and obviously Cameron Cireldo. So, and it was the same wherever I went. I've always tried to get ex-players coaching footballers.
What's Terry Lamb's actual job title, by the way?
Don't know. He's been there 30 years, hasn't turned his computer on yet.
What's he done?
I don't know what his job title is. He answers every email.
Does he?
He's great. He does sort of corporate and he does community. So he does a lot of our... Terry Lamb would be going to hospitals and schools and community areas and working with sponsors and working with corporates and game day and looking after people all the time and people, in the community that we're trying to support whenever we get requests for charitable or appearances and all that sort of thing. Terry Lamb's first to put his hand up. He's been there for a long, long time and rightly so. He was one of the greatest ever Bulldogs that played the game and he's had a job there for a long, long time and he does a great job as well. And he's still our most popular Bulldog in the club. He and Steve Mortimer still today are recognised as the two most popular Bulldogs in history.
Time for Ask Gus. The NRL season is in full swing. We're nearing the finals, and for the best time in sport, Tab has the best app in sport. Tab, we're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
On the subject of Bulldogs legends, Milton wants to know if you'd ever let Willie Mason be a trainer for the Bulldogs first grade team.
He has been.
Has he?
Willie's on. Yeah, Willie works with us.
Another one getting a gig.
Yeah, well, he comes in and does the pathways during the summer and during the week. He helps out Mark O'Murley and Josh Reynolds. Josh Reynolds helps out with our coaching as well, and Steve Turner. So everyone coaches everything. So whilst we've got our individual coaches, they all coach everything. They're all there all day, every day. They're all full-time. And they're all coaching everything that needs to be coached. And that's the development squads in the local junior league or country academies that we're running and that sort of thing. So they all do tremendous work. And Willie Mason, who obviously has other interests and other business interests, and he's got his podcast and does all that. But not uncommon for him to be there in the afternoon sessions when the young fellas are training, particularly during the junior rep part of the season. And he's called into a few NRL sessions as well and seen how things work out and might do some one-on-one stuff.
I think what Milton was getting at is to give him a role as a proper first-grade trainer so we could mic him up. That's what he was getting at.
Oh, well, we can do that for you. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Do you want me to send him out as a trainer?
Yeah.
Do you think he'd be disruptive if he went out there?
I'd like to hear the live feed.
Yeah.
Might have to be on 7-second delay.
I'll put him in one of them blue shirts for you.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, send him out there. God knows what'll come back then.
Can you imagine the opposition when Willie runs out with the water? They think, oh, Rocky, who's this? I can't think of too many footballers who exploded onto the scene like Willie Mason back in the day.
Phenomenal. He sort of burst into the Bulldogs lower grades, and I was at the Roosters at the time, and Nick Politis said, baby, we need to sign that big boy from from the Bulldogs. So I took him, I got his number, and I took he and his brother out for dinner. I think I've told this, and we went down to Danny's Seafood at La Perouse. They ate 3 lobsters each.
Yeah. Each?
Yeah, the bill was a fortune, and he re-signed with the Bulldogs. So. he didn't come to us.
He saw you coming.
Yeah. No, I've always liked Willie. I coached him in Origin, and I've seen what sort of influence he gave. A little bit like a Pied Piper, Willie, king of the kids.
He's a good fella.
You can see him and you can hear him coming from everywhere.
A comment here from Fraser. It's kind of a question, but he's made the observation that his local team, Salford, so Fraser is joining us from the UK, is on the brink of being consigned to history. Mm-hmm. If the same situation was happening at a football cricket team, with this much history, there'd be much more scrutiny.
Yeah. I think we pointed to earlier in the year that there was something big happening in the English Super League and that there would be a restructuring of their competition, and I think they're still finding their way with that. I think they had an original platform, original plan, but it's still up for negotiation. And now that fans and media start to throw their 2 cents in, and I really haven't kept up with it closely enough to know what the end result might be. But a club like Salford, who's sort of gone through ups and downs and, was, potentially a part of it, but also potentially a victim of it. I don't know where they'll end up, but I can understand the fans of any club that looks as though it's going into extinction or it's going to be taken out of the top tier. And once you're out of the top tier, as it is going forward, it's going to be hard to find your way back into it. So, and look, and the English Super League probably does need some rejuvenation and it does need some restructuring, but I'm not close enough to comment on to whether or not what they're doing is the right thing. A lot of it will revolve around what's best for broadcasters, because I understand their last broadcast rights deal wasn't all that great. Their salary cap isn't that healthy, and they don't get covered for the full amount of their salary cap by the broadcast rights that they've got. So there's a lot of money that's got to be made up.
Right.
You've got 3 or 4 really good competitive clubs, and the rest really struggle. Some, they'll get an Australian coach in, or they'll get someone in, a couple of players, and it might, move them up the ladder a little bit. And I think Adrian Lamb had some success there at times with Lee, and John Cartwright's gone to one of the Hull clubs and he's gone all right. Willie Peters has got Hull KR going well. But at the end of the day, it comes down to money and the ability to cover your bills. And when the broadcast rights don't cover your salary cap, let alone your staff and your other requirements. It's a while since I've been there, and I really don't know. But I know the top clubs, your Wigans and your St Helens's and those sort of clubs, are extremely strong and they're well resourced, but some of the others really struggle. And Salford, who's had I think a few owners, I can't comment enough. I don't know enough to comment really, but I've also seen social media reports that Salford were in trouble, and that's going to be a product of the new Super League or the new world order as they go forward.
Are you confident the Ashes will be competitive?
Yeah. Oh yeah, they'll be competitive, particularly over there. Absolutely. At that time of year, it'll be competitive for sure.
It's a shame Herbie's out. Is he going to miss the Ashes?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so. He should be right by then.
Hopefully.
Well, yeah, Dylan did a hamstring. He didn't get amputated.
It looked like he'd been shot.
Yeah, but he probably saved it. It was a bit like Adam Reynolds the other night, and that's experience. Like Adam Reynolds, out of the three of them, he looked the worst, but he's actually going to play where the others are longer term. And I think his experience probably saved him. He probably knew exactly when to pull up. He didn't go for that extra stride. And Herbie was a bit the same. Herbie pulled up pretty quick. He had Hamaso outside of him, could have scored a try.
Oh.
But he just sort of protected himself and went down. It's a bad one, but 6 weeks, if they can get to the finals, it'll be fine. But certainly he'll be ready for the test football, I'd imagine.
All right, that's Ask Gus. Thanks to Tab for the best time in sport. Tab has the best app in sport. Tab, we're on. A break, we'll get the Ampol Power Surge, and then we'll have a look at round 24.
Fans always ask, Lozza, what was the best era of league? And I tell them, nothing beats the line-breaking, flick-passing, goose-stepping, Vegas flying, turbo try-scoring, origin drought-breaking, simply the best era of footy we're in right now. And with more market stats and insights, it's easy to enjoy the best era in footy with the best app in footy.
Tab. We're on.
What's gambling really costing you? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.
Ampol Power Surge brought to you by Ampol, powering Australia's own sporting nation. I noticed before we came in here, totally different code, but James O'Connor has been recalled to the Wallabies team. I think he's 35. So he's going to play 5/8 for the Wallabies against the Springboks over there in South Africa. It's this weekend, I'm pretty sure. But he was one of the players I know going back a few years was being touted maybe as a league prospect. Curtly Beale was another. So who are your top three code hoppers?
Code hoppers?
Yeah.
From rugby to rugby league or rugby
Either
league
or.
to rugby, don't care.
Either or.
I go back to the old days. Ray Price. He was a rugby convert, Ray Price.
The King played rugby. Ricky Stewart went on a Wallabies tour.
Michael O'Connor was a convert. Ricky Stewart played younger rugby before he came to rugby league.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple of fellas, Darren Junee and Peter Jorgensen, played plenty of first grade at the Roosters.
Mm-hmm.
They come across from a rugby background. Sonny Bill Williams went from league to rugby and back again and played at the highest level in all of them, played with the mighty All Blacks.
Brad Thorne did that.
Brad Thorne did that, yeah. Been plenty of them. I mean, your Lottie Takiris, your Wendell Sailors, young Rogers. I think positionally there's a limit to who can. It's certainly today there is a limit to the players that will convert. Marky Nwanga, what's his name? Marky Mark, crikey.
Did you see that coming? How good he is?
No. He's freakish.
Oh, how skillful.
He is absolutely freakish.
Unbelievable athlete.
Yeah, absolutely freakish. It's incredible some of the things that he does.
How far off is he to realising like his absolute peak ability in rugby league?
He doesn't even know the game yet. Like he's played very little rugby league. To do what he's doing is phenomenal. He is phenomenal. He is really phenomenal. And he looks as though like he's got a strong constitution and he's a very physical sort of young man. He's going to be around for a while. If they can keep him in the game, he could be anything. Now, they've got him on the wing at the moment, but he could be anything as a centre. Like, he's phenomenal. A phenomenal player.
And Joseph Swali'i playing for the Wallabies at the moment as well, so there's been no shortage of
he's
code
head off
hoppers.
to the Wallabies, yeah. Andrew Walker played for the Wallabies and came back again. There's been a number of them over the years. There's been a few duds too.
Did Phil Blake play rugby?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
Not international rugby. I'm trying. There's some of those older school blokes. I'm not going to make you give a top three. I reckon we've covered it all off there. So that's our Ampol Power Surge.
Well, there's more than three.
Well, there's a stack.
Yeah. There's a few duds too.
You can go back to the Thornettes.
Yeah.
Who are the duds?
No, I wouldn't do that. But there were a few duds.
Very good. Round 7 of the NRLW, NRLW Weekly for all the latest news with Marley and Ruan. But the Sharks play the Titans on Saturday. There's our Saturday treble. That's the first of them. The Broncos play the Eels. The Warriors play the Raiders. Sunday, Tigers, Dragons, Roosters, Knights. Big game. First versus third, that one. And then Cowboys versus the Bulldogs up in Townsville. Round 24, starting tomorrow night at CommBank Stadium. 7:50 kickoff. Do not miss it. The Panthers are $1.55 favourites to beat the Melbourne Storm at $2.50. Team news. We know there's no Isaiah Yeo. So it's the same 17 for the Panthers that beat Newcastle. For Melbourne, Ryan Pappenhausen is out. Nick Meaney is going to play fullback. Murray and Sever comes into the centres. Nelson Asava Solomona has been named among the reserves as he looks to reclaim a spot in the 17. So he's on the extended bench and he might come in. Very short price favourites, the Panthers.
Yes, well, the Panthers, as we said, back in the middle of the competition, were in 17th position. As we stand with 4 rounds to go, they're now second favourites to win the premiership, yet they come up against the premiership favourites. Melbourne have been premiership favourites all year, and rightly so. They've been premiership favourites all year, but here we are again where Panthers are heavily favoured to beat the Storm at CommBank on Thursday night, and I think that's right, given the changes to the Melbourne side and right where they sit at the moment. It could be a different story in 6 weeks' time if they meet again in preliminary finals or grand finals or what have you, but right at the moment, the Panthers are on a roll and the Melbourne Storm are missing key personnel. That's not to say that the Melbourne Storm can't win. They can. They're a very professional outfit. But looking at the two teams on the weekend, there's no doubt that Panthers are much closer to full strength and are in, I think, a little better form and growing in confidence. They do miss Isaiah Yeo, but more than made up for that the other night in their demolition of the Newcastle Knights. And I just think that they've probably got the goods to beat the Melbourne Storm this week. I think if Penrith do win, they'll be premiership favourites on Friday morning, or certainly equal favourites with the Melbourne Storm on Friday morning, because they'll have an equal course to row for the rest of the season. And with still doubts over Jerome Hughes and his likely return date, and now Pappenhausen again, what's he had? Problem with concussion or something? Is he? It was a head knock.
Yes, concussion.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what happens with Asafa Solomona. They haven't named him in number 21 or 22 or whatever it is for no reason. Number 22, I can't imagine he won't play. I'm sure he will play. Just whose position he takes there, probably one of the bench spots, I suppose. Melbourne Storm, look, their grand final last year was phenomenal. The rivalry between these two clubs over the last 5 or 6 years has been phenomenal. And it could well be a preview of this year's grand final.
It may well be. So Panther to win for Gus.
It could well be. I was actually talking to Claude today about a promotional piece for this game.
Were you?
Yeah.
Why are you looking to promote this game for?
Well, I just thought that Channel 9 might need some help promoting the game.
What's Claude say?
Claude didn't say much. Donald Trump did.
What? Go on.
I won't read it.
Go on.
What's he say here, Donald? Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you about the most incredible and most spectacular sporting event you're going to see this Thursday night. The Penrith Panthers versus the Melbourne Storm. And folks, this is going to be absolutely phenomenal. Just phenomenal, these two teams. And I've seen a lot of great teams, probably more than anybody. They put on the greatest grand final in history last year. Everyone says so. Even my enemies say so. The ratings were through the roof. Massive, massive numbers. The Panthers won their 4th straight premiership in what many people are calling the most beautiful game ever played. The most beautiful. Can you believe that? But here's where it really gets interesting, really incredible. The Panthers, these incredible champions, they were down and out, last place, 17th. The lowest of low. The corrupt sports meter was saying they're finished. The dynasty is over.
It's
fake
you.
News.
You wrote this, the corrupt sports media.
Fake news. The dynasty is over. Total fake news. Because what happened next was greatest comeback in sports history, maybe in any history. 9 straight wins. 9.
History.
They went from absolute last place to top 4 in the most incredible turnaround you've ever seen. It's like going from zero to hero, but even better, much better. Bit like myself. And Melbourne Storm, perfect all year, just perfect. They've been number 1 practically the whole season because they're smart, they're tough, and they know how to win big. I know how to win big. I'm smart, I'm tough. I know what smart and tough looks like. But here's the beautiful part. Everyone's saying this Thursday night could be a preview of this year's grand final. A preview. These two are the betting favourites, 2 powerhouses, absolute cream of the crop. You'll be watching the grand final before the grand final even happens. This is appropriate to the point This is appointment television, folks. Everyone will be watching. Your neighbours, your friends, probably even the fake news media will be glued to their screens. And Channel 9, fantastic network, fantastic, really fantastic people. They're giving it to you completely free. No charge, no subscription fees, just pure, incredible rugby league delivered right into your home. When you have two teams this dominant, this powerful, this incredibly talented going head-to-head, magic happens. Real magic, the kind of sporting spectacle that people talk about for years and years. Don't be the person who missed the history in the making. Thursday night, Channel 9 live and absolutely free. Penrith Panthers versus Melbourne Storm. It's going to be the most tremendous, the most beautiful, the most incredible game you've ever seen. This is must-watch television, folks. Must-watch. It's going to be tremendous affair. Just tremendous.
Well done. Oh, President Trump.
So he's pumped the game up.
Nobody's seen more great teams than I have.
I know.
Do you think he's ever watched a game? He brushed him in Vegas.
Wouldn't know what rugby
They
league
invited him.
Wouldn't know what rugby league looked like.
Oh, gold. We're not actually putting that to air, are we?
Good work, Claude.
Friday, 6 o'clock, Warriors versus Dragons. I wonder what the president have to say about this one. I'll tell you one thing, the Warriors got to get going. Tanner Boyd's back at halfback. Tamari Martin's out. Wade Egan is in, but Kirk Capel's out. And for the Dragons, Finay is back from a groin, but Moses Suley will miss the game. So the youngster Hayden Buchanan retains his spot. Also, big Loko Pasifiki Tonga comes back into the side. So they won the last couple of the Dragons, and they really should be on a run of 3 in a row. They're going pretty well against a faltering Warriors outfit.
Yeah, Warriors have had their injury concerns, haven't they? And starting to be placed under a little bit of pressure, certainly so far as the top 4 position is concerned, but now they're looking over their shoulder at the 8. They've got the Dragons this week, then they play the Titans, and they play the Eels, and they play Manly. They're 4 very winnable games. I mean, if they hold their head up, they can still finish on 38 points and get a top 4 finish. But this is the big one. You know, Dragons have become something of giant killers in recent weeks. You know, they've been competitive all year. I'm astonished that they're not higher up the ladder than they are right at the moment, but they're making a late season run, which is an all good sign for next season, I guess. And they've got the ability to score points and stop them. They're playing really well. Warriors, who have been one of our better performed teams all year, have run into injury issues, and they do get a chance at home. If they can just draw a line in the sand over what's happened till now and say, well, look, if you'd have told us at the start of the year with 4 rounds to go, we'd be on 30 premiership points and we were playing these 4 teams in the last 4 rounds, we'd like our chances. So they've just got to get their mentality back to that and lift. And if they can win this first one, then look at the snowball effect that momentum creates for any team in this competition. I think of the 4 games that they play for the rest of the season, this will be their most difficult. They're all difficult because we've seen that. You know, they play the Titans, they play the Eels, and they play Manly Seagulls. And we don't know what that might mean to Manly come down to the last round, whether they're still in contention or not. So, but this is the one. St George are on a bit of a roll. St George have got a sniff of a fluker's chance to make the finals, and they need this 2 points away from home, and Warriors are at home. So far as who will win this game, I think you can probably hear it in my voice. Dragons are going to be extremely hard to beat. But I'm kind of cheering for the Warrior. I think the Warrior can turn it around and get it done. I watched Tanner Boyd last week. He played New South Wales Cup last week. He was terrific. Played really well. I think at home, and I don't know what the weather's going to be like over there, I think at home they can get it done against the Dragon.
All right, Warriors $1.53, Dragons $2.50 on tap.
Oh, they're favourites, are they? I thought I was tipping an outsider there.
No.
So I went Penrith in game 1, didn't I?
Yes.
Friday
night footy, another blockbuster, almost worthy of a Donald Trump-style promotion, this one. The Roosters are $2.25 on tab. The Bulldogs are $1.65. Good money for the Rooster, I believe. Back rower Siwa Wong will miss the game, so Victor Radley joins the starting team at lock. Nafahu White goes to prop. And same 17 for Canterbury, although Connor Tracy has a chance to come in after being named on the extended bench. So big one on Friday night, Gus. Big game.
Yeah, it is a big game. They're actually training this afternoon, so I'm running back to Belmore just to sit down and watch the last session. Hopefully they all get through unscathed and can take their place on Friday night. Very pleased with their performance last week, but you saw what the Roosters have done, and they're a big match team, and they're playing at Allianz, and hoping for a drier track, but wasn't much between the two teams the last time they played. I think it was one of the games of the season last time. That was the night Marky Mark scored in the corner. Remember that freakish try in the corner?
I was calling it, yeah.
I've never seen anything like that.
We called that together, didn't we?
I think
you were there.
I think Roosters led 14-0, and then I think we led 18-14. We got back to 18-14, and I think they went to 20-18 on that try. Sandon kicked the goal from the sideline to put them 2 points in front, and then we scored late and won the game 22-18, I think, 22-20 or something, or 24-20, something like that. Mm-hmm. So there wasn't much between them, and there never is. They're always great battles. So, and I think it's a special night for the Roosters. They've got a big promotion on, and they're hoping for a big crowd. The game deserves a big crowd, that's for sure.
3 o'clock Saturday. Sharks $1.42, Titans $2.90. The Sharks were very, very ordinary last week. Ramian's out. Harati to the centres. Billy Burns comes in for Britton Nikora, who is suspended until the finals. And Tino, after being discussed in this podcast, is going to make a return from a knee injury.
Okay, so Gold Coast Titans, we've talked about a lot, about their talent level and where I see them. Should have beaten the Panthers a fortnight ago and then get beaten by the team in last position last weekend. That's the Titans wrapped up in a bundle right there. Wrapped up in a bundle. If you want to know about the Titans, just look at those two games.
Or Tips House.
Did you?
I was the only one.
You're a genius.
Not so sure.
Yeah, well, we didn't know Latrell was going to play, but he played. Had a couple of freakish moments again. Again, I look down this Gold Coast team list and I'm thinking, why? How are you possibly back there?
Forget about the Titans. I find Cronulla hard to trust.
Yeah, it's been strange, hasn't it? You know, it's sort of they've been a bit of. They've had some criticism and they've lost some games everyone expected them to win. And during the Origin period where they had very little disruption with Origin players, they were beaten by weakened teams and beaten handsomely. Roosters put 40 on them one night with 8 or 9 players out. And that sort of rocked your confidence a little bit. And then they got on a little bit of a roll and all of a sudden I thought, well, here they come. They're going to get it right for the back end of the year. We had Nico Hines on 100% footy 2 weeks ago and he says, no, we're heading in the right direction now. It's all going to be good. Their first try against the Dragons last week, I thought, well, here they go. They're ready to go. They're in finals mode here, and then just spun their wheels for the rest of the game. Britton Nikora being out, I think, is a huge loss, although I've always liked Billy Burns, but Britton Nikora has been the mainstay of their attacking football for the last couple of years, and he's not going to be there till finals time. They're now missing Jesse Ramian in the centres. Marwin Hawarati has been in good form for the Newtown Jets. But I just don't know how much confidence was taken out of them by that. And we've seen the Titans can be such a dangerous team. I can't possibly tip the Titans. I can't possibly tip them away from home. But I know everyone in the Shire is nervous. I drive through the Shire every day. I see nervous people every day. Everyone's nervous. It's nervous. I drive past Shark Park every day. It groans in the dark. Everyone in the Shire is nervous.
Gee, Shark Park's copped a fair old rap this week.
They're on tilt. Poor old Shark. Poor old Bermuda Triangle.
Mate, the joint's fallen down. It's time to knock it down.
Poor old Bermuda
It's a
Triangle.
hole.
Well, they've been through a terrible time with the development and all that. And the ground, you know, look, they love it. They don't care. The locals love it. Surely they don't lose this week. Shark wins.
Saturday, 5:30, massive game again. Broncos with that new look lineup, $1.67. The Dolphins at $2.20, hoping to bounce back from the thrashing at the hands of the Roosters. And look, if they don't win this week, they're well, I'm not going to say they can't make the finals, but they're at lengthening odds to finish in the 8.
Well, what do the Dolphins produce? How do they come out of that game last week? Wow, what happened there? It can't just be one player. Just because a centre goes down, it can't produce that sort of performance.
He didn't play the week before either, when they won.
Yeah, I just... I can't see a final series without Broncos being in it. I think they'll be in it. And to be in it, they've got to win this one, which might be the death knell to the Dolphin with their finals contention. both walking the tightrope now, aren't they? Mm-hmm. Very, very interesting game. When's this? 5:30 Saturday. Mm-hmm. Wow. Billy Walters. I love Billy Walters. He's a good player. Covers a few positions. He's a competitor. Dean Mariner's back in the side. Katani Staggs. Saki played Origin this year. Reece Walsh. Hammer. Abarillo. Nakora Qatar. I'm going to go Bronco, but with zero confidence. I think they'll win.
What does President Trump think?
I don't know. I'll give him a call later. I think he's out playing golf today.
With all of his entourage.
The world's in turmoil.
It costs about $10 million every time he has a round of golf.
He's out playing golf.
7:30 Saturday, Rabbitohs 2:30 against the Eels, $1.62. A reminder, Saturday night footy on 9 in the run to the finals. Can you scroll down, Jordan? I keep losing my page. Just one change for the Rabbitohs. Lachlan Hubner is out because of a head knock, and Shaq Mitchell's going to play his first NRL game of the season, and Cody Walker might come back. He's on the extended bench. Same 17 for Para.
Yeah, good last week. It was a good game, them and the Cowboys. Very, very competitive. There's a couple of these Parramatta players keep improving the further the year goes. Mitchell Moses back gives them a huge advantage. I'm going to tip Eel to beat Rabbit.
Okay. Eels to continue their excellent late season form. Sunday footy, 2 o'clock. Oh, talk about big games. Manly lose this. They are completely gonzo. They're up against the West Tigers at it's at Allianz. So Stafford Toa comes back after missing the win over the Bulldogs last week. Brett Naden to the reserves. Taylor May, fellow centre Taylor May suffered a head knock in that same game, but he's been through the concussion protocols and he's going to play. Mm-hmm. They do have some newish faces on the bench, though. Charlie Murray amongst them. Suko there as well for the West Tigers. They're missing a few. We know Jake's unavailable because of that terrible head knock last week. And they too have been knocked around a little bit by injury recently, Manly, but their form over the last fortnight's been very, very poor, and they have to... This is just desperation stations now.
Yeah. I saw a stat today that the Tigers are very poor coming off a bye. They had a big win before the bye, but their form coming off byes hasn't been great. So it'll be interesting to see how they've spent the last 2 weeks celebrating their big win a fortnight ago, and whether or not they're ready to take on Manly, and how Manly are feeling about themselves after a couple of back-to-back big losses. They just weren't in the game against the Raiders down there the other night. Raiders handled them pretty comfortably. That's a hard one. Where's this played?
Allianz.
At Allianz.
Yeah.
Why is it being played at Allianz?
I can't answer you.
Yeah. Well, the last time Manly went to Allianz, they got beat by 40. Let's go with Tiger to keep the run going.
Tiger.
They've got their tails up at the moment, the Tiger.
Sunday footy on 9, 4 o'clock. Cowboys. How do you understand the Cowboys? Fair income.
I can't.
Up against Newcastle. Jordan McLean back. He'll be filling the void left by Cohen Hess's season-ending injury. Cole Lawton joins the bench, having served a 2-game suspension. Thomas McCallie and Harrison Edwards also return. And there is a debutante for Newcastle with Connor Vitano to play at fullback, which pushes Gagai back into the centres and Fletcher Hunt out of the team.
Yeah, good young kid, Connor Vitano. Deserves his opportunity. He's certainly been on the horizon, coming through the pathway system up there, and they give him a chance at the back end of the year. The side looks fairly good. Another halves combination in Jake Arthur and Jack Cogger. Cowboys, I can't answer you. I thought they were committed the other day. They really tried hard and they got behind but really rallied home and were unlucky not to win that game against the Parramatta Eels. Went down 19-18 at home. Normally it would be a lock. You'd tip the Cowboy to beat Newcastle the way they're going, but there's some competitive people. Newcastle will just run off their feet against the Panthers, weren't they? I'm going to go home side. I'll go with Cowboy.
Cowboys at $1.43 to beat the
Are they $1.43?
$2.85. And I should have mentioned too that the Tigers are $2.20 outsiders against Manly $1.67.
Are they really? Mm-hmm. So I've gone for Panther, Warrior, Shark, Bronco, Eel, Tiger, Cowboy. I've only got from one upset.
Big price, Newcastle, $2.85.
Yeah, it's a massive price. I didn't know that they were that big a price. I couldn't back Cowboys at $1.44 at all. I couldn't.
Thanks, Gus. We've covered plenty of ground, and I can't wait for the footy across the whole weekend, but especially the next couple of nights. A great way to launch into it. And we've only got 4 rounds until we're sitting here talking about the finals.
Can't wait. Counting the minutes.
As you are to our live show. Remember, if you'd like to be part of that in the audience for the August 28th show at 2 p.m. at Canterbury Lease Club, send your Ask Us questions to 6tackles@9.com.au. Enjoy the footy. See you next week.